Okay, all right, so good evening, everyone. So we're going to look at tutorial 3, 4, 5, and 6 tonight. We are going to do some praxis-based exploration, as much as we can do anyway, but I will get you off into groups and we are going to discuss some sort of planning, planning a dance session. All right, so what you're going to be doing tonight is exploration and discussion of the elements of dance, of course, and the relationship with the curriculum. You'll develop an understanding of these elements and how they influence making and responding and the performance process. Exploration, evaluation, and discussion of appropriate resources and repertoire for diverse cultures. Yeah, we need to discuss that because you are going to include that within your lesson plans. So as you know, your last piece of assessment are those 3 lesson plans, so music, dance, and drama. So you could be well on your way with the dance component and the drama component, actually, of that assessment. Okay, so let's get into it. Hard to believe it is week 8. All right, so of course, recap elements of dance. We've got space, timing, relationships, dynamics, and you will be exploring them today. Okay, I'm just going to ask you guys some questions. What is your knowledge of the element of space, for instance? So what can you remember about the last, what we talked about last week in connection to that element? So space.
So it essentially encompasses the area where the class is working around. So it might be a classroom, it might be whether they go outside. So it's taking in things like the elements. So say if you wanted to focus on them doing actions within the sand or within the grass or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And then it's also just factoring in that there is adequate space to perform what's required as well. So to ensure none of the kids get hurt and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's correct. So looking at loco and non-loco movements. So locomotive movements is moving around the space, whereas non-loco movement is that immediate space with that axle to the floor, and you're moving your body. You can still move your body, but you're not moving as such around the space. Okay, thank you, Jamie. What about timing? Timing within dance. Or time in dance?
Whether it's fast or slow, the movements.
Yep. So dynamics. Oh, well, we've got dynamics there. I shouldn't say that. Sorry. Time. It could also. It can also be past, present, future. Also, so the time. So the historical time, if it is an historical piece, or a futuristic piece, of course, or present. Timing, of course, is the time signature. So you are correct, Helen. Yeah, so it's those, we might be moving to a 16 count beat as such. Okay, what about relationships?
If it's how it might interact with other people.
Yep.
So it could be like a partner dance, or it could be dancing in sync with one another, or in different ways to one another, how that fits together.
Great, thank you, Emma. That's correct. So it could be a whole group dance, could be, like you said, partner dance, could be a small group dance. It could be a line dance, so that sequence. For instance, it's just that relationship where you are standing, where you are sitting, where you are moving, where you are moving in relationship to each other. So dynamics, I think we answered that before. Connected to timing, of course, can be connected to timing. So dynamics, has anyone got a nice definition of that one? Or an example of where dynamics might work in connection to a dance? Or music, a piece of music that you're going to dance to?
I just had the note that it's like sharp movements or soft movements. So I guess the movement could also marry the beat.
Yeah.
and how hard you hit it, or how sharp it is.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
More...
Yeah, that's right. And dynamics, you can, it's all those beautiful verbs. So running, running fast, running slow, or walking slowly, or whatever. So just the dynamics of the piece. Yeah, you are correct with those sharp movements, those and those, strong movements, soft movements. Okay, so I don't know whether we looked at this last week. Did we look at the a warm-up life cycle of the butterfly? I think I talked about a still image, did I? The butterfly still image. Can't remember. Okay.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. All right. So this is a lovely warm up for the little ones. So they would find a group of 4, but with the little ones, it might be a group of 3. Create freeze frames to represent the stages of the life cycle. What you could do also is break the whole group up into, the sections of the life cycle. Create 4 or 8 counts of movement to link each stage of the cycle. So, for instance, their whole body being forming an egg. So that, because the caterpillar lays an egg. The caterpillar lays an egg. The butterfly lays an egg. So you could break it up like that, or you could get them in small groups to investigate the different parts of the life cycle. Of course, they have to have that prior knowledge and that prior learning. So you may be exploring this within science. You might be exploring this as a theme within mini beasts or insects within dance, drama, and visual arts, and as a whole unit, science has, and the other curriculum areas. So they have to have that prior learning, and a lot of children are going to come to the table with prior knowledge of the life cycle of a butterfly, or the life cycle of a frog, or so on, because they may have that knowledge. Now I don't know. You have to tell me if I'm repeating myself, but I had a little girl who in my class in one of my classes, who had a grandmother who bred frogs. So we explored the life cycle of a frog within dance, drama, and visual art. So a beautiful integration of that topic, life cycle topic. So of course, you would get the children to explore eggs. How would your body, in what way would you form your body? In what way would you move your body in order to represent an egg? And of course, they're going to talk about levels, because they would not be reaching high to the sky in becoming an egg. So they would be probably down on the ground, maybe lying in fetal position, maybe rolled over with their bodies. It's purely up to them how they're representing eggs. And then you would move on to the larvae, the caterpillar, and how that moves. Now, you have to tell me if I am repeating myself, because I did have a little boy who was quite an expert at caterpillars. So when we, in another class, when we were doing exploring the life cycle of a butterfly, he actually became quite an expert, and he was sitting on the peripheral, so he wasn't getting involved. He was on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, and it was only when the children had moved from eggs to a caterpillar that he became involved, and then he became part of our choreography team. So he actually could, because he loved caterpillars, and that was his thing, caterpillars, and he actually could mimic the movements of a caterpillar to a T. He actually got the children together. Well, I got the children together, and he placed himself in a hot seat where the children could ask him specific questions about the caterpillar. So really student-centered approach. You must engage the children first within a discussion, and you need to create that dialogue to actually explore these topics. So when you are choosing a theme or a topic for your integrated unit, then be mindful that your initial prior knowledge about the topic would be that initial discussion to see how much the children know. So you do, you can put a little bit of or a couple of sentences about that within your learning sequence, okay? And that can be in your very first lesson within that integrated sequence. Okay, so they move from caterpillar to the chrysalis and then chrysalis to the butterfly. So the eggs, of course, are going to be non-loco movements. So you can talk about that where we aren't moving around the circle. So that exploration is that immediate space they are in. So you can get them to, create all sorts of shapes there. It may be that within their group, they are, they're actually connected in some way. It might be that they are individual. And then when they move into caterpillar, of course, the caterpillar larvae starts moving. So when they break out of that egg and they move into the caterpillar movement, then they start exploring the wider space. And then when they start creating their chrysalis or their cocoons, then they become, stagnant again. So their movement is quite a still movement until they actually break out of the chrysalis. So there's a lot of movements. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say technicalities to this exploration, but a lot of facets, I'll say, to this exploration, because you've got non-locomotor movement, you've got locomotor movement, you've got non-locomotor movement for a part, and then again to locomotor movement with the butterfly. Now this exploration, I actually put in what the sequence that I did with the little boy who became our expert. I actually put it to the music of Hyper Ballad by Björk, and the children were able to distinguish the different dynamics within the song and the tempo when there was a tempo change, and that's when they would explore the different stages. So we actually came together as a whole group and we listened to the music first, and then they came up with stages where they could actually choose to change, and go through the life cycle themselves. And it depended on that loco and non-loco movement, because I don't know whether you're familiar with the song, and you have to be quite strategic in your choice of song within dance if you are choosing it. And of course, like I said last week, you would have a repertoire of songs for the children to choose. At an early age, though, I actually, navigate to the songs myself, and I will introduce them to the children. There's not really, I don't have a lot of input from the children when it comes to the music. If I am thinking, okay, let's explore children-based songs, I might talk about, what they know. So Wiggles or High Five, or, those dance tricks that you think, oh yeah, there probably is a song that is related to it. If I'm doing more a creative dance, then I'll come up with the repertoire. So if I'm coming up, I shouldn't say that. If I'm coming up with the song, then I will get them to think creatively about their choice of movements. Of course, they're going to do that in their own selection of music, but within the early years, though, it is a bit hard for them to choose. 0 to 2, it is a little bit hard for them to choose their own music. Of course, they're going to move to music, though. Now, if you are doing something like this in 0 to 2, then you are going to be quite, it's going to be quite teacher directed in that case. Now, you could have a discussion with the 2-year-olds, of course, the toddlers, and you could discuss, having visuals there of the caterpillar, having visuals of the butterfly and the chrysalis and the eggs, and getting them to actually explore it within that whole group is quite possible. Okay, so let's move on. So progressions, grapevine. Now I've got a little clip for you to have a look at. This lady here. She's going to show you a grapevine. Otherwise, I haven't got a camera big enough for me to show you. Oh, Hang on a moment. Can you guys hear that? Not really?
No, no sound.
No sound. Right here. I'm going to start. Okay.
Side, back, side, tap. Side, back, side. Don't cross in front. Side, behind, side, tap. Side, behind, side. Okay? Super basic. Keep this nice and relaxed. Keep this easy up top. 1, 2, 3, tap. Now, you have it. Take it up to tempo. Not too much faster, but just to get the flow of the grapevine, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, tap. 2, 3. You can do whatever you want with your arms, right? Don't just stay here like this. Add a little funk to it. 1, 2, 3, tap. 2, 3, tap. 1, 2. Make sure you're crossing behind. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. You can even add a little snake of the head. Yeah, I know you've done that before. 1, 2, tap. 1.
I could watch her all day. She's quite mesmerizing. Okay. So, where am I? Oh, no. Sorry. Where's my share? Oh, no. What have I done? Progression radio. All right. So that's the grapevine. Now, quite complex for 0 to 2s, quite complex for maybe 3-year-olds. Have you ever, maybe complex for you guys too, have you ever done a grapevine? Have you ever explored grapevines? Never. Emma, never? No?
I was the
Okay.
person last week that's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Just haven't ever really been into dance, and just, if I have, I don't remember it from primary school or high school.
Yeah, right. Okay. I was going to say from Friday nights or Saturday nights. So grapevines. Has anybody else ever explored grapevines before? Helen?
Only in aerobics classes.
Back in the day?
Back in the day. When they did them in a diamond formation, I found that quite challenging.
I know, I was always at the back of the aerobics classes. and I teach dance.
Turn the wrong way, it's trouble.
Yeah, so it is that left to right. Jamie, you a grapeviner?
Yeah,
Charlie?
I remember it from, you know, like different dances we do. And then when you get to one side, it was like a clap at the end, and then you go back the other way.
The other way.
Isn't that from the bus stop?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is in the bus stop.
Yeah, I know how to do that.
All right. I wish you guys were in the studio with me. We'd have fun. So progressions from last week. What do you remember about progressions? Okay, I'm going to tell you. So progressions are, you could move forward, you could move to the side. So what I usually do is I will line the children up. So I might get them into lines of maybe 2 or 3. Maybe, you know, like it's not really a partnership, but this is a like a line dance that we're going to be doing. Is it possible, you answer this, is it possible to have 2-year-olds doing a grapevine?
Potentially.
You could try, but
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Very coordinated.
You could try. I think when you're looking at something as complex as grapevines, and it is complex to an extent, you know, depending on the age, I think you're looking more at foundation. So maybe preppies, you know, 4-year-olds, but, you know, grapevines, it is complex. It is a complex step. Like step ball toe, that's complex too. So what sort of progressive movement could you do with 2-year-olds or toddlers?
You would simplify it more. So it would just be things like, you know, you're taking a step to the left, back to the middle, step to the right,
Yeah,
and that kind of thing. So it's like, it's very simple, but it's still a progression.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is still a progression though. Yeah, you're right. That's good. And then forward, you could be doing like slow motion skipping, for instance, you know, that lifting off the leg and placing it down, lifting off the other leg. So doing it, or galloping, or, you know, trotting. So different movements and, you know, in that progression. Now, you could do step right, left behind, step that, you know, that's a grapevine though. We'll move on from that because we can't actually do it in our offices. Okay, emotions. So here's another one. Emotions: find a group of 4 or 5, listen to the music and see how it makes you feel. Create movements that showcase this emotion. 8 counts. What song could you recommend that could explore the emotion of sadness?
Send in the clowns.
Send in the yeah, true. Yes, send in the
Classical music can be quite sad.
sad. Yes, yep.
Anything at all from Adele?
Yeah, true. Yeah, so we could use really monotone instrumentals like you suggested, Carly. What about songs that could represent happiness?
Anything in a major key.
Yep.
Anything in a wedding playlist as well?
Yeah, yep. You know who I go to when I'm exploring this emotion? I go to the happy song by Pharrell Williams, because the kids seem to know it. It doesn't matter what child it is, they seem to just know this song. So, and it's very, very upbeat. So you can explore a lot of progression. You can explore non and locomotor movement, of course, and they tend to come up with their own steps. So when they are collaborating in small groups and they have an upbeat song like that one, then yeah, they absolutely dig in and they come up with a lot of suggestions. There's another one by Justin Timberlake too. I can't remember what it is.
Is it Can't Stop the Feeling?
That's it. Can't Stop the Feeling. You know, any of those soundtrack happy, you know, like happy based pieces of music? Soundtracks are really, really good at choosing a repertoire of songs, because the kids already have that prior knowledge if they've seen the movie, of course, because you've got like, you know, you've got the latest movie, what is it, Bad Guys? And then you've got, you know, Toy Story. You've got all those great movies that you can have a look at and you know, take out some of the songs from that can go nicely with themes. So when you are exploring dance, might be an opportune thing to actually have a look at soundtracks, because you're tapping into, well, you can write about prior knowledge. So the children may have some prior knowledge of that soundtrack. Of course, when you introduce it and you play it over and over within your classrooms, they're going to have that prior knowledge anyway, and they're going to naturally move to those songs. So when it comes to actually preparing a sequence or planning a sequence, you know, they may have those movements already because, you know, it might be something that you have observed them doing. Okay, so create movements that showcase this emotion, 8 counts. These movements should lead into a freeze frame representing the overall emotion. So, you know, simply stopping the music, and when you stop the music, they know to freeze in that position, you know, and showcasing their emotion, their visual emotion on their face and their bodies, then that's a freeze frame. So song 1 through for each emotion. This is all the time you get to create your 8 counts. Well, we're not going to be able to do that anyway. Yeah, so you could, are there any songs in particular that you could use for the emotion of anger? Could you think of?
Thunderstruck.
Oh. a bit of akadaka. Yeah, I guess so. Oh, that'd be-
Peer Gynt, the Dance of the Trolls is a
Yeah.
really good one.
yeah, that's right. The Mountain King.
Yeah,
Pierre-
from
Peer
Tchaikovsky.
Yep. Do you all know that piece?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Carly, you do, but no? Hang on. You know what? I'm going to Google it so you can. Where is it? And this is a good one for exploring, the Hall of the Mountain King. It is a good one. And you've got beautiful visuals. There's one, actually, I'll get it up for you next week, but there's one animation which I love to use. I'll just make sure this is sharing. Yep, it is. Okay, let's just.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite slow to start off with. I'll just move it up a bit. So it starts getting lighter and lighter and lighter. But what I will do next week, I'm going to show you a lovely animation which explores that piece of music. I use it all the time, actually, within my dance shoots. Okay.
I'm trying to listen to this.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on. Okay, activity 2, the weather. So select a weather event or weather pattern. Now, why I'm showing you all these is because it's different themes, okay, and different topics that you can relate to the dance sequences. So find a group of 4 or 5, select a weather event or weather pattern or season. Rain, sunshine, wind, summer, winter. Hey, Carly, your audio's on. Oh, good. Thank you. Select a song that represents your chosen season, weather. Create a 30-second routine showcasing this weather event season. Your routine must include 4 locomotor skills, so traveling, 4 non-locomotor skills, so on the spot, position change, formation change. So exploring levels, exploring space, exploring relationships, okay? How about if I break you off into breakout groups and you discuss that? So it is the weather. You can use props. So think of resources maybe that you could use. You have to choose your weather event or weather, whatever it's going to be, maybe rain, sunshine, wind, summer, winter. I want you to think about these things. I've got some things written down. What actions could be used to express this topic? What qualities of movement could be used to express it? What spatial features does it suggest? What kind of partner or group work does it imply? So whatever you're going to choose, whatever sequence you're going to choose. And then we'll come back as a whole group and discuss it, okay? So I'll break you up. Do you understand what is expected? So you're going to discuss maybe coming up with 4 locomotor movements, so traveling around the space, 4 non-locomotor skills in your immediate space, and then positional change, formation change. So you have to think about whether you are going to do it in if you're going to create a sequence in a circle, whether you are going to create a sequence, maybe a line, lines. Are you going to create a sequence where you are forming one line behind each other or beside each other? You have to try and think of the different movements that you might, that you will be choosing too. So are you moving from side to side? Are you moving forward? Are you going to be, exploring verbs such as running, jumping, skipping, hopping. You know, you have to come up with the 4 locomotive skills. So locomotor skills. So I'll leave you be to discuss this within your group. How many people have we got here tonight? 9? These glasses are horrible. I can hardly see. I've lost all my glasses, so I'm going a bit blind without them. Okay.
It's 9.
What's not on?
No, it's 9. I said you're
Oh,
right.
9.
It is
Yeah.
9.
Thank you. Thanks. I can see. I'm pulling your leg, but I can see. But these are horrible. All right. Okay. Breakout rooms. Well, we might have 2 groups tonight, seeing there's not many of us. Are there assessments coming up or what? Well, they're always coming up, I guess. All right. So I'll open the rooms and then we'll come back together. Now, people at home, I will pause the recording and allow you to think about that. So have a look at the theme of weather, have a look what is expected. And if you want to draw a visual of a sequence or you want to, you know, do some dot points, then do that. That's fine. Okay. Okay, I hope that was enough time for all you. Was it, Carly? Was that enough time?
Can we get more time?
More time? Yep,
Yes, please.
yep, no worries. Okay. I hope that was enough time.
Yes.
Yes? Oh, good. Okay. All right. So what did you guys come up with? What did the first group come up with?
Oh, that was us.
Yeah.
We were talking about really going in depth into the stages of a storm. So like
nice.
it starts quite non-loco with the child being there, like say sitting under a tree where they're reading a book, and then it's sort of little movements like the wind starting to sway them, and then it's progressing into sort of the rain's coming down, and then they're on their feet and it's starting to really pour down, so they're kind of running around a little bit trying to find that shelter. And then there's potential to be utilizing props like say umbrellas as well.
Yeah, great.
And then ending it, we thought with like almost a rainbow equivalent of a Mexican wave where they're just going out at the end kind of thing.
Nice. Would you use any props with that one?
I mean, realistically, you'd be using little things like, say, a book when they're at the reading stage, the umbrellas in the rain.
Yeah.
We were also thinking it might be difficult to get specific music that would match that sequence of events. So we were looking at potentially having the children build their own sounds and music into it.
Right. So a bit of body percussion?
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You would be using props for that as well, where it's sort of like, what can you use to make the loud noises of the thunder?
Yeah.
What can you use to make the sound of the rain, even the wind as well? Yeah.
Yeah, great. Because when I've explored this, they can use their voice, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
You know, that nice clapping for the rain. You know, with your rainbow, could you use any props for that?
You could be using like different colored ribbons and whatnot as well. Yep,
ribbon sticks. Yep, you could, or streamers or scarves, because you'd have that, you know, that gentle movement, I guess, with the rainbow coming out. Yeah, great. That sounds great. You've got formations there, so you know, they're constantly changing position. So yeah, fantastic. The other group, what did you guys come up with?
Well, music-wise, we went with Vivaldi's Four Seasons, but we chose Spring as the movement.
Yeah, nice.
Which is a nice one. It's Jump In With Me Girls. if we need to. So we chose that piece, which has 3 kind of different movements in it, and it's quite long, but it's got some nice things, and kids can pretty much create a drama through that play,
Well,
like through that thing as well. The dance could be in itself really like a ballet. So for it would start possibly with 4 non-locomotor skills, but you might have 4 different students taking on different things, like a tree budding its blossom,
nice.
a tree waving, another tree waving gently in the breeze, a flower growing from standing point, and a bird hatching in an egg.
Oh, nice.
So 4 things that could start non-locomotor, and they might take sequence and they might take place at different parts of the music, but there's 4 there. For locomotor skills, there's lots of opportunity for traveling with different animals that they might imagine to different instruments coming in. So a bunny hopping sort of every other beat, or a bird flying around, or nymphs or fairies dancing through the garden. You might have more flowers, you might have more trees, I don't know. But there's opportunities for change through that whole
no, that's great. And you can synthesize the piece anyway, you know, because it is quite a long piece, but you can you know, like if you did your own editing, you could, you know, you could come up with a shorter version, I guess. Props, did you discuss props?
We didn't actually go there, but it's a great one that you could do, but you kind of want the kids to really think about sort of what they are and who they are and what they can use. So there's that drama element attached to it as well. So they could be, you know, adding colour, like dressed in black but adding colour as they go, or
nice.
different things like that, I guess.
Lovely. That sounds great. Because I must say this, when we did when our little guys explored the life cycle of the, thank you, Ruby, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's it? When we were exploring the life cycle of a butterfly, we actually got the kids to create their own butterfly wings out of different material, and then they could paint it or whatever they wanted to. And then when we attached the wings to them, we attached them with little strings, and I know some of the boys we had Velcro for because they didn't like that sensation on their arms of being tied. So, and then when they had their arms down, of course, you couldn't see the wings, and then they strategically had them out. So it was really, really simple, the use of material, but it was quite dramatic too. So it added to that anticipation for the little ones, because they just wanted to, you know, widen their arms and show off their beautiful wings that they had made. But props can add a bit of, you know, a dimension to dance. But as you were saying, Ruby, you know, that the whole expression of facial movement and body movement is, you know, it showcases the piece anyway. So and it is what they're capable of doing, that you do want, you know, with that exploration, you know, loco exploration, non-loco exploration, it is what they are capable of, and how they are capable of making meaning themselves. So very good. Thank you, guys and girls. That was good. Okay. Oh, in relation to weather too, I don't know whether I showed you this book. It's called Thunderstorm Dancing, and it's by Katrina Germain and Judy Watson. But it actually has some beautiful descriptive words. I'll just read you a little bit. Shh, listen, what can you hear? And I don't usually show the visuals of this one. I let them imagine. So I have them lying down as I'm reading this. It's moving. It's near. Can you feel the storm coming, building and running? It's close now, see? Please stay beside me. Daddy is the wind, whizzing and blowing, howling and growing, making trees whoosh, making seas swoosh. Daddy is the wind. Tommy is the clouds, looming and low, puffing and slow, hiding the sky. He can float, he can fly. Tommy is the clouds. Poppy is the thunder, stamping and thumping, clapping and bumping. Ga-bang, ga-boom, it's loud in this room. Poppy is the thunder. Lockie is the lightning, flicking and flashing, tricking and dashing, crackling zap, sizzling snap. Lockie is the lightning. And it just keeps on going on. Really beautiful descriptive words, but you can imagine, you know, that description being relayed in the little one's movements. So it's that connection to the stimulus, which the stimulus in this case is the pretext.
So could you use something like that to sort of do a cross-curriculum focus with English if you were really having emphasis on, say, adverbs or whatever they might be?
Definitely, Jamie, definitely. And this is the beautiful way we can integrate, you know, because we've introduced poetry there, you know, and rhyming words. So literacy is a big focus of integration within visual arts, dance, drama, music. So all of the arts. It's that cross-curricular priorities, because we have three general capabilities, I mean, that you can employ. You know, you can use it. Literacy, numeracy is another general capability that we use constantly within dance and music. We use it, you know, we can embed it in drama, we can embed it in visual arts, of course. And then part of the general capabilities is that creative and critical thinking. So all those higher order skills. So the arts really lends itself to actually exploring the general capabilities, as well as cross-curricular priorities. So when you have a look at the national curriculum, you will see subheadings of general capabilities and cross-curriculum priorities. Now, cross-curriculum priorities are sustainability, Australian Indigenous perspectives, and Asian Australian engagement. Now, we can explore all of those within the arts very easily. We can make those connections. It might not be all of them at once, and it probably won't be, but you can have a real connection to sustainability. You can have a real connection to Australian Indigenous perspectives. Now, the Australian Indigenous perspectives are already a huge component in the content descriptors within the Australian curriculum. So in every subject, you are going to see that specific wording in your content descriptions. But using the cross-curricular priority as a progressive element within your planning and a natural element within your planning is just something that we do as teachers. The Asian Australian perspective is more than just teaching about what can I say, about the fundamentals. It's about the history of migration. It's about gaining perspectives, you know, like I said, immigration, history in Australia of immigration and migration. We are a huge part of Asia. You know, Australia is a huge part of Asia. So it's those global connections that we can make.
So from that perspective as well, I know in the lectures it was mentioned if you were doing a focus on, say, Aboriginal dance, you want to be getting approval from the local community first that you can be utilising the dances before sort of passing them on to the children. Is it similar when you're looking at Asia as well, like with cultural appropriation now too? Like I know there's a lot of sort of people look down on the fact that, you know, people will appropriate, say, geisha dancing and things like that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how far you push it with kids.
Yeah, I know. And there are a lot of grey areas with that. with the Indigenous perspective with dance, it's more the using it as inspiration. And then you are, you know, if you have something like you're exploring Bangara, say, Bangara dance troupe, and you're looking at moth, say, and you because it's part of your mini beast unit. They've got that responding element to it. So that part of your assessment where you're getting them to make the dance and or respond to the dance first off, so the Bangara, and then create their own dance, then they're gaining inspiration from the dance. They're not, you don't, the thing is that the area you don't want to cross is where the children are actually copying the dance to a T. Because then it becomes a little, you know, you just don't do it, you know, without permission. But in the sense of gaining inspiration from Indigenous artworks, Indigenous, and including dance, drama, and visual arts and music, of course, then it's gaining the inspiration rather than appropriating those pieces. Okay, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and you know, it would be fantastic if you could ask, you know, elders, ask experts in that field, who are the people, you know, from that region, to come in and you know, tell their story. And it might be through dance. Incursions within schools, you've got so many opportunities now to get people in, so from different communities in, to actually teach the children, you know, about the culture, about the dance, about the storytelling, about the music, about the drama. So it's quite well, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have access to that resource, a human resource. If it's not through your children, that in your class, then it will be through an organisation. So you get, you know, gaining inspiration that way would be fantastic. And the people who do come in, they will teach that specific dance, and they will teach the, you know, so it's not, you're gaining permission that way anyway. So you've got, you know, if they're going to teach it, then, you know, you're well and truly able to replicate that dance. I know Tabanara and oh, what's the other one? I can't remember this song. Oh, it's a Torres Strait Islander dance. We have had different dance troupes who have come in, who have taught drumming and music and dance, but it's just been that repetitive, you know, sequence. So it's a, you know, they show us and then we do. Type sequence. So yeah, and quite repetitive, so we learn the steps. Yeah, but yeah, anyway, I'll move on. Okay, so cool downs, of course, you're going to bookend your activities with warm-ups and cool downs, and I'll keep on repeating this. So body sculptures, find a partner, sculpt them into a fixed pose. So sculptures, that's that liquid sculptures. Sculpt them into a second pose, swap over, find a way to move from one pose to the next pose, perform for your partner. Now, in this, you might bring in freeze frame. So freeze frame in, you know, is a technique we use in drama. Of course, you can use freeze frame in dance. So if partner A is sculpting partner B and they have fixed them in that pose, then you might come up with some sort of movement that actually will get them to the next pose. So if you are organized, you know, if you've got your children in partners and you ask them to come up with two poses, two sculptures, you know, partner A sculptures the partner B into two poses, but then you have to come up with some sort of way that partner B is going to move from one pose to the other pose. And it might be a twirl, it might be positioning, so moving from one spot to another spot. It might be levels, so moving from one pose that is down low into a pose that is up high. Then, you know, you do have to scaffold this a bit, especially with the little ones. But, you know, you've got that beautiful exploration of liquid sculptures. So, and through dance, it might be that you use, it's got here slow music to explore it, but I tend to not put the music on until they really have refined what they are doing, because both of them are going to do, you in that small group, in that partnership, you've got 4 poses there. So, you know, it's that they're going to be moving from one pose to another pose, to another pose, to another pose. So 4 poses. It might be that you get the partners to take it, not you, but the partners might take it in turns to do so. So partner 1 goes first, and then they transition to partner 2's pose, and then back to partner 1's pose for the 3rd one, and then back to partner 2's pose. Little bit muddly there, but anyway. Okay, I might move on to the next shoot. So creative dance, teaching dance. Let's have a look. Move on. All right, let's have a look. Setting learning goals in dance. Remember, they need to be achievable and relevant for the age or the stage selected. Now, you really have to ensure that. Ensure they are easy to understand. So you might actually have visuals that you can use. So, you know, a person standing up high, person down low. It might be photographs of yourself that you use within your classroom that, you know, teacher aid has taken off you, you know, posing in different, you know, up high, down low, different levels. It might be a video that you create. It might be, you know, just to reiterate what you're actually scaffolding within the classroom. It might be words, you know, it depends on what age though. So preppy students, you know, really simple descriptive words. Yeah, and then explaining the learning aim, the goal, the intention. What I am going to get you to do is think about a learning sequence. Now, I will read you this, so you might want to take notes. So this is planning a dance sequence, and we sort of touched on this before when I got you into your groups. So write this down though, and I'm hoping everyone's got a pen. And it's something that you might be able to relate to your actual planning of your within your your integrated sequence. So first off, idea. That's what number 1 heading. What is the dance about? Consider a dance idea or use an idea from another area of the curriculum. Now you have to come up with one idea anyway, a theme or a topic. Weather, time, water, emotions, fairy tales, could be absolutely anything. Okay, and then another heading is potential for dance. So examine the idea for its potential, including questions such as what actions could be used to express it. Now you explored weather and say, you know, that one group did explore spring. Then you would have discussed what movements you could portray, or what you know, living things could you portray through movements. So it's something that you need to consider. What actions could be used to express the theme? What qualities of movement could be used to express it? What spatial features does it suggest? So what use of space? How are they going to, you know, the relationship between one another? Is it going to be small group? Is it going to be a large group? Is it going to be a dance, you know, a line dance sequence? Is it going to be circular? You've got to consider all these things. And this could be part of your mind mapping. So you're brainstorming for this activity. So what spatial feature does it suggest? What kind of partner or group work does it imply? Or is it more suitable for solo dance within a group? So independent dancing within a large group. List the movement possibilities. So this is under movement content. List the movement possibilities, then accept or discard the idea. Select movement appropriate to the expression of the ideas. So considering all that, now I've just got that out of Nice Arts by Rachel Jacobs. She's got different sequences, so planning for sequences. I might, next week, actually, within the slide, I'll type that out and put it into the slide, but write it down for now. I'm sure you've been writing it down anyway. Write it down because it could help you with your initial planning, okay? Also, think about the goal that you want to explore. What's the learning goal? What's the aim? Okay, and in particular, you know, for that age group. So if you're looking at toddlers, say you're looking at 0 to 2, and you're looking at specifically toddlers, then what is the aim? What's the learning goal? It might be that you want the children to explore what their bodies are capable of through loco movement. It might be that you want to see them use those gross motor muscles, skipping, you know, so exploring progression, skipping, running, jumping. How can they use that within a dance sequence though? So what is the timing? It might be that you want them to count, you know, 2 steps, change, 2 steps, what is it? So 2 steps, 2 jumps, 2 skips, or 2 progressions, skipping, 2, I don't know, 2 non-locomotor movement. So just a little bit of movement, but it's up to you guys, okay? So it might be some sort of sequence dance, like you were exploring when we talked about the weather. Okay, so scaffolding your lesson, you need to identify the theme of your lesson, ensure all activities are linked to this theme, select your outcomes and indicators from the syllabus. So you would use the ELF document if you are choosing, you know, 0 to foundation. Otherwise, use the Australian curriculum if you're looking at prep classes. Write your learning aim and intention. Ensure your assessment links back to the curriculum or the outcome, so the ELF outcomes. You know, you could be looking at ways of communicating, you know, and link to becoming. Yeah, but otherwise you have got the Australian curriculum, their descriptors, elaborations. Now within your learning sequence, of course, you are the integrated. I'll go back to the template in a moment. We'll just skip over that. Okay, but within your planning of any activity within early childhood or within school, in particular from foundation to year 2, you will be looking at the national curriculum. Okay, so have a look at that as outcomes and the elaboration, so the descriptors and the elaborations. Okay, so structuring a lesson, warm-up activity, maybe a progression, progression, main activity, body of lesson, cool down, reflection. Okay, so dance these words and feel the energy of the room changes. So this is just a little bit of an exploration with some beautiful descriptive words. So shake the space, jab the space, push the space, poke the space, shatter the space, tickle the space, slash the space, press the space, swat the space, dodge the space. Okay, so you could you know, could be through loco movements, could be through non-loco movements. I've got a feeling, did we explore this one last week?
No.
No.
Could you use something like this as a warm-up though?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, definitely. This can be yeah, of course it's a progression example, but of course it can be a warm-up activity, because even using some of those because it's in there this as a progression, then it would be more locomotor movement, so they would be moving around the space. Whereas the warm-up activity, if you got them just to explore, you know, a few of these within their immediate space, that's, you know, that's quite doable as a warm-up activity. I usually will use descriptive words to actually warm the space, so the whole space. So it's yeah, you've got that line between progression or warm-up and progression, so quite similar. because it is all about that exploration of the space and exploration of what their bodies are capable of to start off with. This one, though, is exploring space and energy. So looking at the action as part of the elements of dance. So the action that they are exploring. Yeah, beautiful descriptive words though, because what you're doing there too is you're teaching them language. So you look at, you're very much exploring literacy and, as a general capability. Okay, integrating literacy concepts into a dance lesson. Find some movements to represent the poem. Stand in neutral, stretch slowly into a shape, curl into another, now pop into a shape, swing into another, slash into a shape, melt slowly into another, spin into a shape, jump into another, slink into neutral and relax. Now that's a poem, but I've got a great poem here for you guys. All right, this one's called Look at Me, Look at Me, Look at Me. I can balance on one foot, Look at me, look at me, look at me. I can keep myself very tall and still. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I can balance on my back, Look at me, look at me, look at me. I can keep myself small and still. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And you can imagine the children, you won't even have to say those words, look at me, look at me, look at me, because they will be doing it. They will be saying it. I can balance on my tummy, Look at me, look at me, look at me. I can keep myself tight and still. Look at me, look at me. I can balance on different body parts. Look at me, look at me. I can keep myself balanced and still. So you are exploring dance elements there. So balance and body bases. So you ask the children to respond to the poem through movement. So they are deconstructing those words and they're reconstructing them within dance. So beautiful movement. Okay, so young children often whiz their legs high up in the air when trying to balance. They often follow a belief that higher is better. Guide children to aim for smaller balances that are still rather than to try big movement shapes that wobble. But you know what? It's what they're capable of. So if they can do that, if they can change it up, then why not? All right, I've got another one here too. What my body can do. I can wiggle, jiggle and jump. Step, march, stamp and hop. Crawl, bounce, bend and twist. Turn around and stop. I can start in a tiny shape, crouch down very low. Then I begin to stretch and rise as up to the middle I grow. At the middle level, creeping is what I try. Then I do a bursting move up to the level that's so high. At the high level, everything I can see as I walk, run and leap. Yippee! I feel so free. Okay, lots and lots of beautiful poems. I've got this book, Dance Me a Poem, by Frances Reed. She's got a whole series of dance and poem, drama and poetry, music and poetry. So if you are introducing poetry within your class, which is a beautiful enriched activity, literacy activity, then you've got quite a few resources there. Making up your own poetry, from maybe getting some inspiration from a text and asking the children if, as a whole group, can we make our own descriptive poem, and then create a dance from that is always, you've got prior knowledge there of the movements because you've talked about it, and then when you actually put it into action, you are integrating from literacy to dance. Okay, so what theme could you use for each activity, which I'm going to move on from this. Okay, simple modifications for literacy and dance, putting movement sequences developed from the poem to music, performing actions or sequences as a canon, adding a prop, sound effects or body percussion, like you were talking about, Jamie, to the movement sequence, substituting selected words of the poem with other actions or qualities such as collapse, rise, breathe, pounce, asking students to write their own poems like we were just talking about. All right. Now, do you think if I break you off into groups, you could write your own little rhyme? Okay, I'm not talking about a big one, a little, a nice couple of lines, or not couple of lines, let's make it 4 lines of rhyming words, descriptive rhyming words that can be used within a dance or a movement, you know, music and movement. Try and think of some music that you could put to this piece, or you know, the creation of maybe soundscape. I'm not expecting you to create a soundscape, of course, but thinking about a soundscape maybe, or using percussion and creating some sort of dubbed, you know, piece of music that you can record and then use, you know, their own piece of music. All right, so find a group. We've got groups. Select a theme for your lesson. Create a short dance activity based on the poem. Write out your dance activity so it is clear. Don't worry about doing that. Explain how you could assess this activity. All right, we won't, we could talk a little bit about that, but I might break you off into groups and you can explore that, creating a rhyme or a piece of poetry. Now, of course, I showed you this one. This is, you know, I'll just read some out. Poppy is the thunder, stamping and thumping, clapping and bumping, gabang, gaboom, it's loud in this room. So, you know, nice little verses. We've only got 5 lines here. Tommy is the clouds, looming and low, puffing and slow, hiding the sky. He can float, he can fly. So try and come up with some sort of movement within the poetry that the children could explore either locomotively or non-loco, okay? I'll break you off. Oh, hang on a moment. Oh, Victor, I'll assign you.
Hello, I just joined in.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll assign you to room 1.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so people at home, you explore that too. Write your own piece of poetry and see what you come up with, and put some nice descriptions in there, and come up with what, you know, maybe a source of music and movement for the children. Okay, try and connect the dots. Okay, so we are going to finish it there. We did come back and discuss the different poems. I did read out another poem, or part of another poem, called Down in the Ocean. Down in the ocean, deep down I like to dive, to see all the fish that swim and the creatures come alive. The octopus with his 8 legs does wiggle, wobble and blob. He moves in a flobbery way, flobbery, flobbery, flob. Now we broke that down, you know, had a bit of a discussion about the descriptive words within. So actually get, you know, I could break the children up into small groups and give them a stanza, you know, we could call it a scenario, part of the poem to explore. I could do it as a whole group and ask them questions such as, what do you think flobbery, flobbery, flob looks like? Can we scuttle in, how would we move if we are exploring flobbery, flobbery, flob? Another part of this poem, the crabs, they like to scuttle and dash and dab about. They like to scurry under a rock and flip their nippers out. Now you could ask questions such as, how can our bodies scuttle? Can we scuttle in a different way? Can we scuttle at a different level? Can we scuttle in a different direction? Is there a speed at which you think scuttling happens? So asking them questions, asking them open-ended questions is a necessity, because you want to create that dialogue and you want to create that exploration. All right, we are going to be exploring some more of dance and, you know, how we can use dance within the classroom. We are next week. We are also going to explore, you know, some more scenarios, some more ways of creating dance within our classrooms. I did mention to the online cohort that I am going to investigate the visual arts mark release. It could be just held up because, you know, they might be expecting more assessments. I wouldn't think so though, but if there is a technical error or technical problem, then I'll get onto that and ask our national head, our national lecturer in charge, I should say. Another thing is, what was I going to say? Oh, if you are the person with rubric within your within the assessment tile, can you pass it on to your other group members, please? Because that rubric contains, you'll have to download it, but that rubric contains the comment and the mark, okay? Now, you all should have assessment 1. You should have the drama assessment. I am going to investigate the visual arts and media assessment and why it hasn't been able to be accessed yet. Okay, so that's about it for tonight. Please work on your assignments and try and get on top of those. Time management is really, really important. Now, someone did bring up the fact that I didn't upload last week's tutorial. So it is up on YouTube, but silly me, I haven't uploaded the actual link to the YouTube video. So I'll do that tonight. So you will have both, you know, week 7 and week 8, this week's, to have a look at. That's about it for now. So hopefully you get on top of the planning. So come up with the topic, come up with the theme, try and you know, work out how or in what direction you're going to take with the integrated approach to this assessment, this final assessment. Have a look at the samples. The samples are individual. You've got a music sample up there and you've got a dance sample up there. Have a look at that. Remembering, if you are looking at 0 to 2, then you will be looking at the ELF document, okay? On the sample, it does include the Australian curriculum, but that's for a prep class, I think it is. I think that's the age. So you have to be age appropriate in your application, okay? So have a look at the ELF document if you are working with within that year level, 0 to 2 years, okay? All right, so I'll say good night and well, you'll see me next week if you're watching the recordings. Okay, thank you. Good night.